Okay, so I'm not sure if I'm going to upload this video or not. To be completely honest, I'm primarily making this for myself because I find that voicing my sentiments at any given time, it almost has a therapeutic effect. It almost has an effect like writing in a diary. For me, I find it quite helpful because by vacuuming my thoughts into a video format or into a diary, I place them somewhere. I give them sort of control. It's a way of me taking control. It doesn't change the problems that I face, but it helps a little bit anyway. I want to talk about the issues of unemployment and signing on at the job centre in the context of the UK where I am, so I can't talk about the situation in other countries for obvious reasons. Um, I've just went through the process to sign on for universal job credit, universal credit. Um, I've had experience of being at the job centre as like formally being signed on once or twice in the past, but it's been a few years now. So there's been some changes to the system. Whereas it used to be job seekers allowance, it's now something called universal credit. So I'm still getting accustomed to that as a concept. According to the website, the first payment date would be May the 18th. It's now April the 6th, so that's well over a month. Truthfully, I'm not financially stable in my life right now, and that is something that is very difficult. I'm not getting any income. I have enough money to get by on, but it's tight. It is tight, and I always dream of that future where my situation will be more financially stable. Now, I'm making this video, like I say, primarily for myself, but if I do upload this, um, I'd like people to take a few things from it. Um, Anyone who's been unemployed will know how it feels. I watched a skit yesterday actually with Ali G, Sacha Baron Cohen, one of his famous early characters, talking to Tony Benn, who's a famous left wing politician here in the UK, passed away a few years ago. But basically, he was talking about signing on. Obviously, it was very tongue cheek because he was a character. Um, but this stereotypes that he was coming out with in his character is actually what some people believe. Um, there is a widespread perception in the UK, fueled by the right wing tabloids, that when people sign on, they basically get free money from the government. What I'd like to emphasize is it really, really isn't that simple. It is true that people get financial aid from the state. I'm not disputing that. And I am grateful to live in a country where there is a welfare system in place, where that safety net is there. I'm not complacent about the fact that we have that. And I think everyone who is going through the system needs to take that into account, that there's other parts of the world where you really are completely on your own. But the other side to this is a very important one, and that is about personal independence. When you sign on at the job centre, um, an aspect that makes me very uncomfortable about it, and this is why I was very, very hesitant to sign on. I've had no other choice, had to do this. But basically, you do feel like you're giving away personal sovereignty because you're completely at their mercy, essentially. You have to do absolutely everything they say, um, and you've very, very, very little say in the process. Very little say. If you are what the a woman's just phoned me actually to confirm some of the details because I filled this in online yesterday, and as I knew would happen, I got that phone call. I have to say she was polite enough. I can't say that she was rude, but it's all very monetized and very like monotone, I should say. Like a computer message. Although it was a real person, it was very like, well, "Are you this? Are you that?" and so on. I can't say that she was rude, but already I just know I'm now in the process where I'm not really in control of my own situation here because I have to do everything they say. And frankly, I hate it. I hate that idea of someone else dictating my life. But I have no other choice because if I want to get that financial aid for a little bit of stability until I get paid work, then I have to play their game and just basically, there's all the practical things about bringing in a passport, bringing in ID, all this sort of thing in order to get the universal credit. But they're saying it's going to be a 1 hour interview. I'm not looking forward to it at all. Um, I just don't like that idea of surrendering my freedom, and that's how I feel it is basically. At this stage, they're polite enough, but I've been through the system before, and it's definitely not a lifetime habit that I've developed. So please don't think that. Um, there are people who basically use it as a lifestyle choice. I'm not in that category. I've had jobs, but there has been a few times in my life I have had to rely on it, and this is just another time. It's not an ideal situation. I hate it, to be quite frank. In fact, after that phone call, I was even tempted to phone up the number she said to just cancel the whole damn thing. But if I do that, then I have to give up the money that will come through after a month or whatever it is. And at the moment in my mind, I'm trying to balance out, well, is it worth the money? Is this surrendering of personal freedom worth the money? And okay, if you have a job, you have to do certain things in the job. You have to listen to your boss. You have to be in at a certain time and so on. So I suppose you could argue it's not that different, but there is certain things that go on with the process of signing on that I feel is different from. I do feel that people are talked down to in a way that is sometimes subtle, but it's always there. And I'm not pointing the finger at any individual person here. I'm not saying that there's been any individual who's been particularly rude or whatever. I have experienced those individuals in the past. But one reason I'm hesitant about this is precisely because of that. I'll do what they ask as best I can, but one thing she said, which to me is ridiculous, she said, even if I get a job, I need to go to that interview. Now, to me, that's nonsensical. If you're signing on, the point is that you are trying to get a job. Now, if you get a job, then obviously your priority is going to the job. She said you have to attend anyway, even if you have a job. That to me is totally nonsensical. Well, I'm not saying I'll get a job in the next 5 days. It's not highly likely, but that is a ridiculous thing. And there is an awful lot of bureaucracy in the system whereby common sense basically is thrown out the window. And this is something a lot of people complain about the system. I do intend to make maybe some sort of video journal as I go through the process. That is, if I decide to go through it. I've little other choice at the moment. And it's a very unpleasant situation, to be quite honest, because I hate the idea of um, having that sort of personal liberty. I feel it is personal liberty being taken away because you basically feel like you basically are at their mercy. Ostensibly, they're polite about it, but if I'm 30 seconds late, they could take away the money. So I could do everything they ask, but if for whatever reason I'm 30 seconds late, and this is just an example, that's it. All the money, I don't get it. And there is a lack of flexibility when it comes to the job centre that you don't get in other walks of life. Now, obviously, if you're late for a job interview, it would probably be the same situation. But to me, that demonstrates that the general public have this notion that it's a very easy life getting welfare. I agree with Tony Benn. The vast majority of people do not want to do it. There are some who choose it as a lifestyle choice. I'm not disputing that, but I suspect the majority of people who sign on don't take a great deal of pleasure from doing so. They do so because they've no other choice. They're at a time in their life that, for whatever reason, they've been made redundant, they're between jobs, whatever it is, where they have no other choice. And if there is a safety net in place, of course you're going to consider it. But this safety net comes at the price of someone else having control over your life. And that to me is really makes me uneasy. Even now, I'm contemplating phoning up and just cancelling the whole thing. But if I do that, it might, I don't know, if I am ever in a position in the future where I need to rely on it, which I hope isn't the case, but if I am, they might use that against me. Um, really, this 1 hour interview will probably be more like an interrogation. And I know I sound cynical with this, but I have been through the system before and I know what it's like. And to be clear here, I'm not saying that everyone employed by the job centre is rude or looks down on people. I'm not saying that, but the system itself makes people feel that way. Now, it's not the worst system out there. There's parts of the world where there's no safety net. I understand that. But people who think this is easy, either they haven't been through it or they just. I have a theory on this. I feel that there are many people who are in stressful, pressurizing jobs that they don't like. They have a difficult boss, they're being treated unfairly. I've been there. And because of their frustration, they want to take it out on someone. It's human nature. They want to take it out on someone. So they see people who are unemployed, and in their mind, they're getting money from the state. So, oh yeah, let's just blame those lazy benefit scroungers, or these sort of callous insults that the tabloids churn out. It's one of the main reasons I hate tabloids, actually, because they directly fuel these sort of misconceptions. It's not free money because there's a lot of obligations. If it was free money, it would be a case they just put money into your account and that's it. That is not the case at all. They've got very strict obligations about what you have to do to prove that you're trying to find work. So there are obligations. It's not free money in that sense. I don't know if the workfare program is still in place. I wouldn't be surprised if it is, because this is a pretty callous government when it comes to its attitude to those on the fringes. But basically, and unemployed people are on the fringes; they're in the minority. So this is not about saying, "Oh, please feel sorry for me." I accept that I have responsibility. This is what I really want to get out there. I accept that I've got responsibility. I'm not saying people should feel sorry for me, but I'm just trying to educate people and get out the message that this really isn't as simple as people think. I mean, put it this way. Okay, let me use this analogy. If it was just free money, why would I be hesitant to sign on? Why would I have procrastinated over this for weeks, even though I need the money, if it's just free money? And I'm sure there's many others in the same position. It's not just free money. Yes, you get financial aid, which is not as vast as people think. It's helpful, it's money, but it is not the vast amounts that people think it is. The cases that the tabloids highlight are extreme cases, they're not the norm. So when you read stories about, I don't know, some guy who's made 11 women pregnant and he has 20 children and he's claiming thousands and thousands, I'm not saying those cases don't exist, but they are the extreme cases. And what the tabloids do is they plaster that over the front pages and say everyone who's signing on is like this. So then it stirs up this division in society. It stirs up this hatred and animosity, and that is very, very unfortunate. I have a lot of empathy and sympathy with people who are going through a stressful and pressurizing job. I've been there. I've been a waiter 3 times. I've been in jobs that have been very unpleasant, and I've also been in jobs that have been very fulfilling. But my point is, just because you have a unpleasant boss or because you work long hours, or you're under stress at your workplace, you have my sympathy, but don't take it out on people who are not responsible for that situation. If you can, quit it. We live in a free country. And if you can't, well, you have my sympathy. But again, you're blaming the wrong people if you want to take it out on the unemployed. Um, so at the moment, the interview's 5 days away. I'll probably go to it because I really have no other choice. Unless I find some way in the next 5 days to get an income through, getting a job, if it's viable. I am job searching, I'm looking for viable options, but it's really, really not easy. A lot of jobs nowadays require a driving license. There's a lot of other factors that does not make this simple. A lot of jobs require qualifications. You need money to pay for the qualifications. So it's really, really not a case of people just wanting to get free money. I know there are people out there who abuse the system. I'm not disputing it. But it deeply frustrates me that there are quite a lot of people who just have this black and white idea in their head, and they watch trash shows like Benefit Street, which basically just exploits the poor, as far as I'm concerned. Um, and another point about all of this, you don't need to be particularly left wing or socialist to see that the situation is not black and white. I've known conservative minded people who have had these sort of opinions, and then they've fallen at a particular point in their life where they've had to rely on the system, and that has suddenly meant they have changed their tune. It's not a case of, you know, people saying, feel sorry for me, I'm unemployed, everyone should feel sorry for me, I should get free money. I don't agree with that mentality. I don't, that's not my values. I do believe in personal responsibility. And I agree that if I'm getting money from the state, I have responsibility. But I'm just being very candid here about how I feel about it. It's a shitty feeling that someone else is controlling your life, and there's nothing you can really do about it. I could just not go to the interview, then I'll be sanctioned. I could cancel the interview, then I won't get the money. And even if I do try to cancel it, I don't know, I imagine that would affect any future, if I ever have to rely on it in the future, which is something I sincerely hope isn't the case. Um, so I'll round this up, but you know, it's not a case of me saying here that everyone should feel sorry for the unemployed. I believe in personal responsibility, but the general public are too often informed by very callous, predominantly right wing press that turns this into a black and white situation when it's really not a black and white situation. I mean, for one thing, there's many different types of benefits out there. I don't even, to be honest, I don't even like that word benefits because it sends out the wrong message. It sends out this message that's like, a lottery ticket or something. You get this as a benefit because the word implies that you're just getting something for nothing. That really isn't the case. What it is actually is welfare. That's a more applicable term. Um, I don't like the term benefits for that reason because I think it sends out the wrong message. So that's my sentiments right now. If you disagree with me, so be it. I'm not going to tolerate any trolls on this video. I'm going to delete any of those sort of comments because that's not why I'm making it. I'm making this video for myself and I'm making it for people who can relate to what I'm talking about. I'm not making this to open up a debate. I'm not making this to have a back and forth with people who just want to insult me or insult other people in this position. Um, yeah, I'm sure I'll be making other videos on this subject in the coming few weeks.